I've tended to think of boundary pushing as things that really challenge me, or things that really push me outside of my comfort zone, instead of things that are a little bit more simple or smaller, but they're still outside of my comfort zone or my boundaries that I'm used to. So from a culinary perspective, that might be something like eating insects, but from a fitness perspective, I think I've always thought of it like running a marathon or swimming across the English Channel, which is absolutely not happening anytime in the near future of my life. Or potentially, I don't want to say ever, but it's probably a pretty low chance of that happening. 2 reasons. 1, I'm not a very good swimmer, and 2, that's freezing, and me in the cold and I, we're not friends. But recently, I have learnt a little bit more about pushing your boundaries in a smaller, more manageable, incremental, step-by-step kind of way, and then being okay with that and allowing myself to be okay with not bounding. So this year, I've spent a lot of time in my bed or on the couch, and I was really unsure about how I was ever going to make it back into a world of fitness that was remotely a normal kind of level for my demographic. I was really scared to venture back into that world. As lovely as the human beings that were at the gym that I used to go to are, they also look at me like a 30-something-year-old woman who was never all that fit. Don't get me wrong, never that fit, but was a lot fitter and a lot stronger than I am right now. There's some really key steps, I think, to starting to push your boundaries, but in small little steps rather than just the end goal in mind. And one of those things that I found was actually really surprising to me. So a lot of people say, know why you're doing something, have a goal, have a purpose, and figure out what your real motivation is. For some people, that might be working out a lot so that they can lose weight so they can fit in a dress, or just feeling stronger and healthier. For me, as much as I tried, as much as I wanted that to be the case, that was never really enough. And then this year, when my hematologist said to go to the bone clinic and learn a little bit more about my bone health, that was kind of my drive, my motivation. And I started coming to the clinic, and I started really small, way smaller than I know that I absolutely would have back at my normal gym, or even with the people around me who would have been asking me to do things that are just way outside of where I was actually physically capable of. And it took a lot to be really comfortable with the fact that I'd lost so much muscle, I'd lost so much ability, I was out of breath very easily. But being around people who, because of their demographic, are kind of forced to take things a little bit slower and a little bit more carefully and be gentle about how they start off and then build and build and build and grow, that's the best environment that I could have been around. So if I had tips around pushing your boundaries but in a small, manageable, incremental way, it would be, so number 1, know what your motivation is. And it might not be necessarily what you think it is. Number 2, have good people around you, whether that's a really great support network in terms of friends or family or people that you go for a run with. For me, it's actually not being around the people that I usually lean on for support, because they kept seeing me as who I used to be and not what I needed right now, which was actually to ease up a lot more than any of us really thought or wanted to admit. Number 2 is something I've already mentioned, which is to start small. Once I took my ego out of it, starting small or smaller was the right choice. I think a third thing is pick something that you enjoy or really want. So if it's not something that you enjoy, like running, but you really want to be a good runner, for whatever your reasons might be, that's fine. Otherwise, pick something that you actually enjoy and that you're going to stick with, and you're going to continue to show up every time that you're supposed to go, as opposed to finding an excuse as to why you can't. Sometimes that's hard, because I absolutely did not know that I would enjoy what I'm doing, which is things like squats and overhead press and deadlifts and a whole bunch of then balance activities. I didn't know that I was going to enjoy that, and I don't know that I 100% love it, but I also know that I need it. I want to be good at it because I need to be good at it. Number 4 is set a schedule or set some times or block out hours where you're going to undertake your activity. You've chosen that time to do that thing, and life happens, things get in the way, but really you have to choose that this is an important thing for you overall. I found that I really struggled with things like do half an hour every single day, because some days I don't feel very good, and then I would punish myself, or I would feel guilty, or I'd feel bad every time that I didn't stick to it, and then I would kind of fall off the wagon completely because I was already feeling bad. So finding something that you are actually going to commit to is really useful. For me, it's once I look ahead, there is only set days that this program runs. I pick the ones that I'm going to go to and I book them in. That then holds me accountable because I've already paid. It's a very limited class size, so I know that the slot that I've taken, I need to show up for because someone else has not been able to book that slot. So that's holding myself accountable when other things don't necessarily hold me to the same standard. But likewise, I think you should also add in rewards or just congratulating yourself. That might be just a moment while you're on the drive home to go, yeah, I did that. Go me. And for some people that might be a cheat meal or going out and celebrating with friends, whatever that might mean to you, but taking a moment to celebrate those small wins every time you step forward, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, I'm still not good enough. I'm still not there yet to the main goal. So yeah, those are my kind of 4.5 tips and suggestions around making a change or pushing your boundaries by starting small, making incremental, continuous improvements, and particularly around things like fitness, which is something I've never been good at. Anyway, if you found these tips helpful, throw a like, subscribe, or follow along for more, and I will see you in the next one.